Women of Welcome, I'm Sarah Casada, and in this video we are going to talk about what not to do when talking about immigration. So some of you have been following along or reading along with our summer reading suggestion, which is Thou Shalt Not Be a Jerk by Eugene Cho. The subtitle is A Christian's Guide to Engaging Politics. And one of the things that he is talking about in chapter 7, I'll just read you the title of chapter 7. It says, Thou shalt not lie, get played, or be manipulated. And so when we think about what not to do when talking about immigration, we're really talking about that. It can be too easy in our hyper-click, fast-paced social media news life cycle that we all live within to, whether accidentally or intentionally, share things that are half-truths or sometimes outright lies, but more often than that, is things that have been twisted or manipulated or slanted in a way that pushes a narrative that is not entirely true. And so when we think about, this applies to stuff outside of immigration, but for this community, when we think about what should we not be doing when we talk about immigration, it is making sure that we are not sharing and pushing forth information that is not, to the best of our knowledge, true. And so what does that mean for us? How do we make sure we're not doing that? And I think the first step is it means we have to slow down. Sometimes it can happen where we see an article and just the headline alone rises an emotion in us, right? And so it can be easy to just share that, sometimes without even reading the article. But sometimes even if we read it, we've got so much emotion behind it that we just want to share it immediately without doing that due diligence to kind of check and make sure that, to the best of our knowledge, we're sharing something that is upright and true. And so in chapter 7, Eugene Cho offers 6 questions that actually come from the American Press Institute that can help us when we stop and think about what we're sharing, to be thinking about what we're consuming and what we're sharing. Is it true? And so I'm going to walk through these questions pretty quickly. If you have a copy of the book, it's on page 176 and 177, and he shares a bunch of sub-questions. So I'll pull out some of those as well, but there's more in the book as well if you want more information. So the first question is, what type of content is this? So at its most basic level is this a news piece or is it an opinion piece? Is this an article on a satire site? You know, some of us have seen that happen where someone accidentally shares something that was never meant to be taken as truth, but they didn't look carefully and didn't realize it was a piece of satire. And so who's writing this? Is there a reason why they're writing it? Some websites might be sharing sponsored content, which means someone paid to have that piece on their site. And so all of that is important to recognize in that first question. Number 2, the source. Who and what are the sources cited, and why should I believe them? So it's good to look, who are they interviewing for this piece? Is it someone who's qualified to speak about that necessarily? Is it someone who is paid for that? What kind of credentials do they have? Who paid for the research? All of that stuff helps you know kind of a deeper context of what's happening in the piece. Number 3, what is the evidence and how was it vetted? Eugene Cho writes, was it a document, a report? Do authorities agree on the conclusions? How many? Thousands or half a dozen? Is there corroborating evidence? So this kind of helps us to think critically about the pieces that we're reading and the evidence that they cite. Number 4, interpretation. Is the main point proven by the evidence? So this requires us to read a little more slowly. What conclusions are they drawing? Does it make sense from the evidence they're supporting? You think about when you're in high school, it's like the three-point essay, give your thesis statement, then give 3 things to back it up, and then your conclusion. So does it follow that logic and make sense? Do they give the other side a fair hearing? Those are all really good things to think through. Number 5, completeness. What is missing? Are there unanswered questions that are just kind of blown past? Are there things that you feel like you need to know more about to be able to understand more clearly what the article is about? And finally, number 6, knowledge. Am I learning every day what I need to know? So Cho writes, there are questions you need to ask yourself about whether you're being a wise consumer of news. What do I hear people talking about that I wish I understood better? Where could I go to learn it? Could I explain the situation to something else? He talks about making sure you're getting information from different kinds of sources. And so I think that really takes us from the micro of one piece to kind of this broader question of, am I being a thoughtful consumer of news and information so that I can speak as truthfully as possible my experience as well as what I'm learning about a particular topic, in this case, immigration. So I'd love to hear from you of kind of what resources you use to help make sure you're thinking critically about the things that you're reading and consuming. And then I hope all of us can work together in this group and outside of this group to make sure that within our community and outside of it, that we are sharing truthful information as much as we possibly can, because we want to be authentic and have integrity in that. So, all right, thanks.